4.8 kites. So first thing I'm going to do is draw a kite. And we'll go over the properties based on the quadrilateral chart that you were provided with last week. So the information about a kite, the definition is a quadrilateral, which means 4 sides, with 2 pairs of consecutive sides that are congruent. So that means this side is congruent to this side. This side is congruent to this side. So 2 consecutive sides that are congruent. Okay, and the properties say that the diagonals are perpendicular. So in a kite, we have diagonals that don't necessarily look like diagonals. They're more just connecting the parts, okay? The diagonals are perpendicular, okay? Perpendicular meaning needing a 90-degree angle. Okay, the long diagonal bisects the short diagonal. Okay, so bisecting means that this side would be congruent to that side. The long diagonal bisects the opposite angles. So that would mean that this angle would be congruent to that angle, and this angle would be congruent to that angle. Good. Okay, now what else can we find from this information? Well, if this length is the same as this length, okay, what type of triangle has the same length on its sides? An isosceles triangle. So if this length is congruent to this length, then that would mean that this angle and this angle would be congruent. Angle 1 would be congruent to angle 2. And if this length is congruent to this length, that creates another isosceles triangle, just upside down. So that would mean that this angle and this angle would be congruent. Okay, and those are again by the isosceles triangle theorem. Okay, now you're not going to have to memorize the theorem again. It's just remember that if the sides are congruent, then the base angles are congruent. And because we have an isosceles triangle on top and bottom, that means these angles are congruent with each other. Okay, let's try the first problem. Now, sometimes kites are on their side, and sometimes they are up and down. This kite happens to be on its side. And the information we know about this triangle, we know the sides are congruent. And the information I know is that this angle is 22 degrees. And I know that this angle is 67 degrees. And I want to find the measurement of this angle. Well, let's number it instead. I want to find the measurement of this angle, and I want to find the measurement of this angle. Okay, so angle, measure, find the measure of angle 1, and find the measure of angle 2. Okay, now based on this information, remember the most important property that will help us a lot in this one would be that the diagonals are perpendicular, meaning that this is a 90-degree angle. So in order to find angle 1, I can simply subtract 22 and 90 to get the measure of angle 1. So 180 minus 90 minus 22 gives us a measurement of 68. So angle 1 is a measurement of 68 degrees. And again, I took 180 minus 90 minus 22 to get 68. Okay, now to find the measurement of angle 2, you need to think about the triangle that is created over here. Now, based on up here, we talked about that you have isosceles triangle. So if this measurement is 67 degrees, then we also know that this measurement is 67 degrees. Correct? We also know that if this is 22 degrees, based on the third property, that the long diagonal bisects the angles, then I know that this is 22 degrees. I also know that this would be the same measurement, right? So, from that information, we can find the measurement of angle 2 using all that information. Okay, let's go ahead and fill out, this is 68, and that's 68. Okay, now thinking back original to the lesson that we learned before spring break, before all this happened, remember how many degrees is a quadrilateral? Quadrilateral is 360 degrees. So if a quadrilateral is 360 degrees, I'm simply just going to subtract each of the measurements. 366 minus 22 minus 22 minus 68 minus 68 minus 67 minus 67. And I'm left with 46. Now 46 would technically be the whole angle. I just want part of it. So I'm going to divide that by 2. And so therefore angle 2 is 23 degrees.